think outside the box, if you will. I mean, go there, go off campus. Let's think this through. And sure enough, that's where the Mustang was born. When it finally hit, it took the country by storm.
Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. You know, this is the Motor City, and this is the show where we put cars into the context of your everyday life. You can tell that we're very proud of our automotive heritage here in Detroit and the Grosse Pointes, but we'll make no apologies for a decidedly Detroit perspective. And Detroit is where we are right this minute, not at WMTV. And we have Chris Sawyer of the virtualdriver.com, the best automotive blog in all of the internet.
Thank you for saying that. How much do I owe you?
You got a buck?
I got 12.
Okay, so no. If you guys have been reading the virtualdriver.com, then you're on top of all this stuff. But we wanted to bring Chris out, as he is every year, at the North American International Auto Show. And this 2015
Are you saying I have no life?
He has nothing to do. What's he going to do? Hey, cars are over at Cobo. You want to go? Of course he's going to go.
Exactly.
No. The reason we're here today, folks, is because this is the beginning, the kickoff, if you will, of another great year of cars, 2015, for Detroit and really the entire industry. And this year's show, we're here at press days before it opens up to the general public, but this year's show has been really super special for anybody who loves cars, no matter what part of it you love. And Chris, they were really throwing a curveball when, you know, when their life of hybrids and electrics and everybody, fuel economy standards, and people cared more about miles per gallon than horsepower, when all of a sudden the theme this year was innovation drives performance?
Yeah, well, what have we been talking about there for a while? Didn't we say that even though mileage was going to go up, performance was going to get better?
And didn't we say that the kinds of things you do to make high performance cars gives you better mileage? That's why you actually watch Cars in Context on WMTV, right?
Or you read the Virtual Driver.
Okay,
we're going to do that. Come on.
That's right. Both of those things really took the journalist world for a complete loop. And the first kickoff day of press days here at the auto show, because Ford unleashed its brand new supercar. Now you might think its supercar was the original Ford GT. Yeah, you know, they wanted to go beat Ferrari at their own game, which was endurance racing.
Yes.
Le Mans France. That was the place to be.
Exactly, 24 hours.
They tried to first buy Ferrari to buy their way into performance, and then when Enzo stiffed Henry Ford, after spending a few bucks on the due diligence, he wound up saying, if I can't buy him, I'm going to beat him. And so they built this phenomenal Ford GT race car. And in 1960, weren't right off the top, they didn't win. But by 1966, not only did Ford, for the first time, beat Ferrari.
And the funny thing is, they in 66 they did it with the Mark II, which had the 427. The Mark I had the 289. In 67 they did it with the Mark IV, which had a 427, of course, but a totally different car. Then the privateers do it in 68 and 69 with the original car.
Unbelievable.
Which no one has done.
Unbelievable.
4 years on the trot.
Essentially a hand-built car by Holman and Moody's shop down in South Carolina. And then the greatest Ford engineers, our biggest power plants, to go out and beat Ferrari. Let me tell you, folks, having a Ford Motor Company, a domestic automaker, beating Ferrari at endurance racing in the 60s is much like the Olympic hockey team beating the Russians in 1980. I mean, do you believe in miracles?
Exactly.
So Ford's Miracle race car, they sold a couple for the street. They're basically exotica. But did you know what happened in 2005? The SVT division, Ford Special Vehicle Team, tried to reincarnate a Ford supercar as a halo product, and they came out with what's over here. Let's go take a look at the 2005 Ford GT. Okay, soon after the whole world just fell in love with Ford supercar, things went on in the 70s. We got out of racing. It was a terrible time. The 80s, we talked about our show, The Death of the Econobox.
Yep.
Then we suffered through that. And then the 90s, the cars turned into bars of soap and they all looked like Camrys. And we kind of lost our way, our personality. But you know what? By the time the millennial came and we got to
Ford had their 100th anniversary.
Ford had a centennial anniversary. Yeah. And to celebrate, what do you celebrate when you're a Ford performance fan? You celebrate that great win in 1966 with the Ford GT supercar that came out, developed really in much with Carroll Shelby and John Coletti and the entire whole bunch of suppliers. Mayflower did part of it. Steve Saleen had purpose-built it, built at the old Wixom assembly plant.
No longer there.
The Ford GT supercar, when it hit the market about $1.50, It was on, under $200,000. A few people bought them for that, but they were for limited, a couple of thousand a year for just 2 years. SVT kind of went away, but a Halo product, Chris. Why do you have a Halo product?
You have a Halo product to sell the rest of the stuff you sell.
If that doesn't draw you into the showroom, and if you thought back on what that,
And think good things of the
yeah,
company.
think good thing of how cool the company was. That's the kind of car it does it. So what
But
did they
this car was an analog of the 65.
Yeah, it really was.
And it was, in some ways, a bit old. Old technology,
big,
old way of look. It looked like the older car.
It was
a lot of great stuff in it, but because it didn't have quite the up-to-date feel.
No, I mean,
they took care of that on Monday morning.
Well, they sure did. On Monday on the press day, this car, wonderful, the V8 engine, 500 horsepower.
I'd kill to have this.
All aluminum. I mean, the monocoque setup is a true race car. I mean, this car is a wonderful supercar, and prices in the collector world were through the roof.
Oh yeah, 236.
But really, what nobody saw coming was on press day, they unleashed to the world that Ford Motor Company was going to make a new supercar, much in the vein of the great Ford GT. And guess what, folks? This time, the latest, greatest, newest technology. Let's take a look at this fantastic-looking Ford supercar, the new Ford GT.
Let's go.
And of course, here it is, the star of the Detroit Auto Show 2015. The North American International Auto Show crowd was stunned when Ford unleashed this new Ford GT supercar. Chris, nobody really saw it coming. People that weren't in the industry, like I know, people that were working on the car.
But I didn't know I didn't know anything about the car.
Right, I mean,
nothing.
Now, when you take a look at this,
I had to guess that it was coming here.
Really?
And it just made sense. Timing, the number of people that you have here, and the fact that you want to make the biggest splash you can, this is the place to do it.
Right, and think about what just happened before that. In December, Ford announced a new initiative called Ford Performance. And Ford Performance was going to take Team RS in Europe, the Ford Special Vehicle Team here in Dearborn. They were going to take Ford Racing, also in Dearborn, vehicle personalization, put them all under one roof right on the Rouge River, right across from the training facility for the world champion Detroit Lions. Did I say that out loud? Sorry, Bill Jr., we're still pulling for you.
You are just dreaming.
I know. So what we really wound up doing is when we saw this car coming out, we could not believe that this thing was actually going to hit the market, folks. So this was really set everybody out there just on their ear. They had first of all, they didn't expect it. Second of all, to see it, and then the fact that Mark Fields brought it out and said, what are we going to do with this, and should we build it? And of course, Bill Ford says, yes, I think we should. You can expect to see this
next
in 2016 as a street car. And Chris, you think it's going to go beyond the street?
Yes, I think, quite honestly, in 2016 is the 40th anniversary of the first win at Le Mans.
In 1966?
I think they're going back.
Yeah. Can you imagine going back with this stunning rendition? And again, Halo product, why? Well, what better way to announce that Ford Performance globally, and what makes this car different from the previous Ford GT in 05? This car uses all new technologies from its
full
tub,
carbon fiber tub
right,
with aluminum front and rear subframes,
right,
torsion bar suspension
correct,
because of the packaging,
right,
active suspension.
Right, and then think about some of the other things that they have going on.
And a 3.5 liter twin turbo EcoBoost motor like you can get in your
That's
car,
the key.
but with 600 plus horsepower. I've heard numbers that you can take a stock EcoBoost and with a few changes get as much as 725 out of it. So
and that's
this
the
could
reason.
Be fun.
That's what makes this so special. Why? Because what Mark Fields wanted from Ford is to make sure that you race what you sell on the street. And EcoBoost is their global performance powertrain. And sure enough, EcoBoost in this car, one of our fantastic Halo product than that. Couldn't happen any better.
Exactly.
But you know what? Ford wasn't the only company out here showing these fantastic new little supercar projects. There are a couple of, and we knew of a supercar last year we talked about in our show, and another new sports car. Let's go take a look at some of the other performance cars, and we'll come back. We'll talk about some of the other news we had at Ford. Let's go, Chris. I want to see this new Acura NSX.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Why are we here now,
Well,
Chris?
John, you said you want to see the fastest thing that Honda makes.
Yeah, I just said
there
that.
There it is.
What?
The Honda Jet.
Oh,
with
come on.
their own turbofan engine.
Wait, Honda is making airplanes now too?
Absolutely.
Isn't it bad enough that they're making this FCV concept to run the world on crazy powertrains? And now,
but you said you wanted the fastest thing, or do you want the fastest thing on wheels?
No, I wanted the fastest. I'm going to talk about a supercar.
Oh, well,
yeah.
let's go over here.
The NSX. Oh. Okay, we're here over at the Acura stand, and now, Chris, this really is the fastest thing on wheels.
Absolutely, and I'll
Honda's
bet you Honda wishes they had done this last year.
You can see some of the attention that the Honda NSX is getting here on press days at the 2015 North American International Auto Show.
Unfortunately, it's been a little overshadowed by the GT.
But how did that happen?
Well, because Honda has taken so long to do this car. They
Right.
told us a long time ago they were doing it. They showed us the first design, and it hasn't changed a heck of a lot, but it's changed a bit.
It looked, if we saw the concept car, it looked similar. It did change for production's sake.
It's gotten better.
Right,
It's
yeah,
gotten
it
better.
does look pretty good.
But
you
this
know
is
what
a
else
car-
looks pretty good? Some of that food they're walking around here with.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
We're going to tackle one of those guys in a minute.
Lauren, Jeremy, I hope you guys are getting hungry, because when press day, unlike the regular days at the auto show,
Yeah.
they kind of feed the media.
You have to.
It's a feeding
Otherwise,
frenzy.
we won't write a damn thing.
No, that's not true. But the NSX, I mean, come on, it's got a 75-degree V6.
A
This is the-
9-speed dual
Right, this is
clutch.
kind of the technology now, folks. Don't expect the big honking V8, V12
No.
insanity. V6s are the way to go. A 9-speed takes plenty of horsepower.
3
This
electric
is
motors.
Twin turbocharging, much like the same kind of technology that EcoBoost is using on the Ford GT. But this is the kind.
This is a hybrid.
And it's a hybrid. That's right. Think about that. It's a hybrid. So when you have your supercar using all the latest technology, what does it say about the company? That I can make something this beautiful, this fast. And oh, by the way, this company is building my little city getter, that grocery getter, that may be something like a little kind
Or
of Honda
your
Civic.
Acura TLX or your
Right.
RL. It's all part
All
of the
about
company.
Halo product. When we talk about Halo, when we talk about heritage, yeah, Ford has tons of heritage there. Acura, not so much. But there was a company here that showed a new sports car, Chris, that has heritage up the yazoo.
But nobody knows about it in this country.
And who knows what a yazoo is? Yeah, let's go check
Wasn't
it.
he a character on the Flintstones?
No, that
was Gazoo.
That was the Parrotmobile. That car looked like it was from the Flintstones. No, let's go check out what Alfa Romeo, who's new to the United States again, they're back again,
Yep.
had to show here at the auto show. Let's go.
Thank you. How are you?
Well, here we are, Chris. You know, they're not the only people in the world that decide when you have a Halo product, a really cool sports car, something that the whole world pays attention to. You got some heritage. This is a great marketing theme. And sure enough, Alfa Romeo, back in the States now, folks, selling Alfas, they had this fantastic 1967, the 33 Stradale.
Stradale.
I love
The
when he
Tipo 33.
This is why when I go to Olive Garden, he absolutely orders for me.
Yes, and that's why you don't get what you want.
No,
I have no idea what
I'm
I'm
just there for
ordering.
the soup and endless breadsticks. As you
Exactly.
can tell. No. So
And trust me, that's
so
not real
tell us,
Italian
Chris,
food.
a little bit why. I mean, and of course, in 2015, we're coming out with the new Alpha 4C. Sports cars, cool, fast cars, never really go out of style, and it's led by a company with real
Oh,
tradition.
they have a tremendous heritage. We've got the 1967 Tipo 33 Stradale here, which is very similar to the Type 4C.
Well, we'll look at it.
which both mid-engine. This one is carbon fiber. This one is, of course, built around
Aluminum.
You've got next to that is the 4C convertible.
Right.
But down at the other end is where Alfa really started with the Grand Prix cars. Wow. Way back in the 30s.
Yeah, they built their
They
whole
have a
name and reputation.
tremendous heritage.
Right.
And not just for building cars that in the past had questionable quality.
You know, when you talk about cutting edge technology in 1967, hand forming your race car out of aluminum was an incredible thing. And then nowadays, when you go to, aluminum is, even though we see it in our trucks and in our cars, now everyone, the buzzwords, carbon fiber.
Exactly.
Making, they're pushing the racing, the technology, the innovations in race cars. Funny how that's wound up in our everyday trucks, for example.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll get more of it.
And the idea, if you're going to come back into the United States, why not leverage some of this? Alpha, do I remember an Alpha? Oh yeah, remember us winning in Grand Prix, winning on the tracks, and why not show that in your showrooms and bring
And they
it?
won't. And this way, you'll forget all those Alphas that they built in the battle days before Fiat owned them.
Yeah.
When they fell apart and they had oil leaks all over but you loved them anyway because they were so much fun.
Yeah.
Now, they were a competitor for Ferrari. Now the same company that owns Ferrari owns
Right.
Alfa Romeo.
Right, think about it. Again, this is the kind of stuff you wouldn't expect at the 2015 North American International Auto Show. But
Absolutely.
it's a reality. Halo products and performance, innovation, and,
Heritage.
and beautiful things sell cars.
Absolutely.
Let's take a little walk through Alpha's history, shall we?
Let's go.
When you talk about surprises, when you come to the auto show, what you want to see are the gorgeous cars, the beauty. Art and cars go together, just like women and cars go together.
Especially on the Alpha stand.
Yeah, at the Alpha stand. But what attracts me as a car fan is cars that are just beautiful, strikingly beautiful cars. And this concept by Buick really took the world a little bit by surprise. They had no idea Buick would come out with this absolutely stunning new concept car. And Chris, it's called the Avenir.
Yep.
How close is something like this to reality?
That's a really good question, because this is in some ways an answer to Hyundai with the Genesis sedan and Kia with the K9000.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Of the large rear drive luxury sedan that doesn't step into the same space the Cadillac is currently in.
Doesn't look anything like that. No.
It's more of the less sporty, more luxury, more tasteful, more flowing artwork.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this, and folks, I hope if you see it and you come down to the show and see it in person, it's elegant.
And the funny thing is, everybody thought that it was front-wheel drive until you look at that relationship between the A-pillar and the wheels, the dash-to-axle ratio, and you see that those wheels are up front forward. That's a rear-wheel drive chassis it's built off of.
That should be a tip-off. I mean, when you're talking about the world's greatest luxury cars, you know, Mercedes-Benz and BMW, to play in that sandbox, you need a rear-drive car, and why not in a domestic make? This car, if it were ever launched in China, would do wonders.
Oh, absolutely, and you can tell from the size of the back door that the Chinese very much want a large rear cabin, because most of them who can afford this are being driven. They're not driving.
Right.
So it's got a large rear cabin on it, but it's also something of a driver's car with a just tasteful shape.
Absolutely love it. This is the kind of stuff that you should be attracted to when you come to the show. Look for the beauty, look for real art. Some cars here, they look kind of funky, frumpy. If that's your thing, fine. But when you want to come down to the show and find a piece of art, you look at Buick. But Buick had some other surprises too.
Yes, surprisingly.
And I know a lot of Grosse Pointe soccer moms had one of their favorite cars was a Sebring convertible. Buick thought maybe we can bring that kind of car back.
Absolutely.
What do they call it?
The Cascada.
Well, wasn't that a dishwashing detergent in a little packet?
No, not really. But
Okay, let's go take a look at this little convertible. So here we are. Now this is a car we don't have to dream and wonder, will Buick ever make it? Because Chris,
here it is.
The Cascada is here. And for those of you that used to have that big convertible, didn't want the Camaro, or the Mustang, or the Corvette, you wanted
something a little more luxury, a little more different station.
And you weren't going to pop for a BMW convertible. You figured, hey, the Chrysler Sebring convertible is really popular in the Grosse Pointes, and I would see this car as fairly popular.
Oh, absolutely. And it's an Opel.
It's a what?
It's an Opel. It's a German car.
What, you know, back in the day, General Motors and Opel were just joined at the hip. Now
and Buick sold through Buick dealers.
I'll be darned. See, that's why you can see the global aspect of the industry now underneath mechanicals.
Front-wheel drive chassis.
Right.
Independent suspension all the way around. Four-wheel disc brakes. Nice interior.
Yeah. Good-looking little car. And
absolutely.
by the way, so in your Michigan winters, you can be front drive, and then in your Michigan summers, drop the top. You're styling in your Cascada. But let's go look at a...
Okay.
Sorry, I had to bring that up. Let's go look at really the top of the line when it comes to GM and performance. This new Cadillac, a 200-mile-an-hour Cadillac.
Just what you need for the milk run.
Let's go check it out. Well, we're talking about halo products at the North American International Auto Show. We're talking about the cars that really made the headlines. And yes, they're the hybrids and they're the electric cars and everybody's newest model and the newest CUV and SUV. And we're going to do trucks and CUVs in a whole nother show, Chris. But today when we talk about the halo products, the cars that go fast, power and performance, we talked about some sports cars, but Cadillac coming out with a CTS, the V-Series Cadillac. This car is advertised to do 200 miles an hour. Chris, why do you need to have a Cadillac that goes 200 miles an hour?
You don't. That's the reason.
There you heard it, folks, from Chris Sawyer of the virtualdriver.com.
What more do you want me to say? I mean, seriously, you don't need the car, but you want it. It's all about rolling up in somebody's rearview mirror and saying, I could pass you if I wanted to.
Well, see,
I could destroy you if I wanted to.
I kind of like it. You know, Cadillac was always about when you rolled home with your Cadillac, it was always about, you know, the standard of excellence, the standard of the world.
And then it became velour.
Well,
and
it did.
Vinyl tops.
And
those are the bad old days.
All right, but nowadays when you pull up in this, if that person is a car guy, he's going to know, you got the CTS? Do you know top speed on that car is 200 miles an hour?
As long as he's not in the Hellcat Challenger, you're okay.
Well, another part of Another place where you cannot possibly go, no matter if you have the car floored, is to go 200 miles an hour, is on I-94, thanks to the condition of our roads.
Yeah.
Oh, we did that whole show on roads. But anyway, this is really what we're talking about when you're talking about Halo product, cars that help sell the brand, and for General Motors, some beautiful
Establish
cars.
an image.
It is all about image. So let's talk about at the other end of the image scale, about technology used instead of performance for things like miles per gallon, because another GM car that kind of made waves here at the show was the Chevy Volt, and a new version of an electric car that we think has got some potential.
Absolutely.
Let's go over to see the brand new, completely redesigned second generation Chevy Volt.
Let's do it.
Another great part of the North American International Auto Show here in Detroit for 2015 is the fact that so many manufacturers have come out with their new models. And Chris, everybody's got a new version. You know, it's always smart to stay on top of product. A lot of cars are just refreshes, and some are all new. One that was making headlines a few years ago, and it's now all new again, is the car that we all like to talk about, one of the game changer. Remember they could use the word game changer when that was a buzzword?
Used it and
Well,
used
the
it and
game
used
changer
it.
was the Chevy Volt. And, you know, what we liked about the Chevy Volt was, yeah, you have an electric car that you can plug in and charge, but guess what? When you ran out of gas, you didn't have to call AAA or get an extension cord because it had a gasoline engine on it. What they used to call, and they still call, a range extender. It's really just another way to get home.
Yeah, well,
when you're
the
charging
main
it.
way to get home for most of it.
Right. But today at the auto show, some of the people are talking about the electrification, how everybody's into it, and how many people made bigger news than Chevrolet with a brand new, all new, second generation Chevy Volt.
Yeah, cheaper. Less, or I should say less expensive.
Yeah, we don't say cheaper.
It's not cheaper.
That's right.
Cheaper is something else.
Yeah, it is. That's out in the hall.
It's less expensive. It has more range. It has a new engine to it. Same basic platform it had before.
Better batteries.
Better batteries, but a new body shape, new interior.
Right. The batteries were the improvements. So they actually use fewer batteries and takes up less space. But because the batteries are better, they actually have better range. So less space taking up, less weight, but a better range. And this car, I mean, Chris, here's what I'm a little troubled about. I think with the restyle, I mean, I like the fact
It looks a little bit like it came from Honda, doesn't it?
It does.
The front end is off the Acura. The rear end is off the Civic.
Yeah,
It's
with a little
really,
bit of a Prius taillight stuck
It's
in
really
it.
sort of surprising, but
Yeah.
it is sort of Japanese.
You know, and that's, to me, folks, what bothers me the most. I think Chevrolet had something going for themselves. With the original Volt, it was truly a Chevy. There's no denying it was a Chevy, it's a bow-tie product. And now by giving it a little more, what people call it European or Asian influence, I just call it...
It's more mainstream.
Yeah, and you don't like to see that? I mean, a lot of people think that
But
the Prius syndrome is what, look like something different?
Yes, it is, but at the same time, they also wanted to make it more mainstream and not so that, because as the price was coming down, it gives you most people would say, oh, I'm going to get this and grab it and go.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what you have to look forward to is you've got a new car, a better Chevy Volt, and the bigger news may have been that they're taking this kind of technology and putting it at something we might see in the future.
Well, they're taking out the engine, the range extender.
Right.
And it's all battery.
Yeah.
And they said, well, Volt works, why don't we call it the Bolt? I hope they don't do a car for stupid people, they'll call it the Dolt.
But let's go check out the Bolt over here. Let's bolt over to the Bolt. So, Chris, look what we have here. It's not a Bolt.
It's a BMW i3.
No.
No, wait a minute. This is the Bolt. The former CEO figured that you had to keep the OLT part of the name, and so you couldn't call it a Volt again.
Okay.
So you call it a Bolt.
It's kind of cool looking.
It is cool, and they took the range extender out of it. They put all the batteries in it.
Okay.
It's a full battery vehicle.
Wow.
They're saying $30,000, 200-mile range.
No, when he says we took the range extender out of it, what he's trying to tell you is they're taking the gasoline engine out of it, so you're really only
full electric.
It's a full electric car. But there's a difference. As opposed to the people that buy full electrics, this is really like a CUV. It's got a back seat. It's got a little trunk.
Room for four.
Room for four. You can carry stuff around in it. It's like the typical American car, except for one thing. It doesn't have a gasoline engine in it. And I think good looking, and probably, what did Mary Barra say? She could sell this for about $30,000.
Yep.
Now, entry-level Tesla car.
Is going to be 65.
But what about their little
65?
All right, so it would be less than half the cost.
Now that's going to be a bigger vehicle.
Yes, it will.
But this will be out before that. It's going to be affordable. And GM has got to sell it because as we get closer to 54.5 mile per gallon CAFE,
Right.
whether you like it or not, gas prices are down. We're sitting on all the shale oil we can use.
Sure, the
We've
pipeline
got
might be
hundreds and hundreds of years worth of it. But the government says, no, we can't do that. We're going to raise fuel economy standards. So this is what we have to do, and you have to sell this.
Right.
So you better make it good looking, you better make it useful, and you better make it something that people want to buy.
If you've ever had an inclination to buy anything electric and something domestic to keep your money right here, I'll tell you what.
You could do a lot worse.
You could really. You're not a bad looking little car. But speaking of cars, you know, we were all about cars today. We're talking about, and everybody else had there's a million cars to come see here at the auto show. But generally, find your favorites, hang out, come and check out all the other competition. But there was one car that was named Car of the Year for 2015 at the North American Show. We're going to go check that out right now. Let's go. So, Chris, you know, every time you come to the North American International Auto Show, the big news is who's the Car of the Year, who's the Truck of the Year. And this year, there were 3 cars up for nomination. One was the Hyundai Genesis.
Nice car.
It was a nice car. And
Nice
I mean, a lot of, the styling really helped it out. I think the
dynamics are wonderful.
Features on the car, so it had a lot going for it. The second car was the all-new 2015 Ford Mustang. It's an iconic American
Personal
car.
favorite, yep.
Yeah, it was 6th generation, all from the ground up. I mean, they kept the little Mustang in it, a lot of technology. And the third one was the Volkswagen Golf, and a lot of people, I would say, was probably the sleeper of the bunch.
But it's the most important car. That's the car with the MQB structure.
Yeah, we did a show about that, if you remember.
Yep.
So what happened, folks? Well, we did it. We came to the show, we heard that the Volkswagen Golf was indeed named Car of the Year. Here we have the GTI, one of your personal favorites.
Yes, I had one of these. I loved it.
Didn't they sing a song about that? Little
Planet GTI, yep.
No, that was GTO. Okay, well, listen. So, Chris, tell me, why did this thing come out ahead of Mustang and the Hyundai Genesis?
Because both of those cars are not mainstream market. The Golf is the biggest selling Volkswagen that they've got. It is the franchise for them.
Okay.
And it is the first of the MQB structure.
Right.
So this is the structure that will underpin everything from this car on up to the Passat and beyond.
And folks, remember that show on Cars in Context? If you don't remember, go back on Cars in Context TV on the YouTube channel and look it up. It was one platform, many cars idea. Chris talked about this one platform that could, I mean, these cars are quite different, but you underpin the platform with good, robust parts.
And you can do things like this, a performance version,
Or
then you do
you
the
can go
high
over there
performance
to
version,
the
the R
model,
which is all-wheel drive.
Now, is the R model the model for pirates? Because they go,
No.
arr.
Grow up. No, it's all-wheel drive.
Okay.
It's got the same 2-liter turbo this has got, but
really?
tuned way up.
Right, they cranked it up a little bit.
300 horsepower.
300 horsepower, good.
And they want to do a version with 420
Are you serious?
out of the same motor.
Wow.
That's like, yeah, sign me up.
Oh man, the yardarms, matey.
And you can fit 5 people in it comfortably.
That's
you can
the
carry
amazing-
all the stuff.
Yeah, that's the
This
amazing-
thing cruises like nobody's business. It's a lot of fun. It's solid. It's the car that everybody in this segment
Okay,
goes after. It says this is what we have to build.
I understand. So, folks,
And there's the wagon.
I know. Plus, they have the wagon version, and a lot of cars today they don't have the wagons.
No, exactly.
And Chris and I, we still love wagons, and when you get to the life cycle in your time, and you'll say wagons are kind of cool. Why can't I be cool
Exactly.
and have a
And
wagon?
John remembers all those old Ford ads of being a wagon master, but for him it means whips and chains. But we don't want to get into that.
No, that's a whole different story, folks. But listen, I hope you enjoyed our tour of the cars being the stars at the North American International Auto Show here at Cobo Center 2015. Chris, thank you so much. I'm looking
You're
forward
welcome.
to all your wonderful stuff on the virtualdriver.com.
I am too, because I have no clue how I'm going to do this.
Well, don't worry about it, because, folks, you can come back and watch Part 2, North American International Auto Show 2015 of Cars and Context, and another edition. Until then, remember, knowledge is power. I've been your host, John Clor, and thanks for watching.